It's a joke I'll often make that, like, there's like some women are like, oh, I have a manly voice. And it's like, it's like, no, you don't. No, you don't. You don't. It's funny just how, like, different men and women in their ranges are, or at least are perceived to be. I mean, there are women with manly voices. We tend to call them contraltos, at least in music. Cher, Alison Moyet, Courtney Love, Nina Simone. They do exist, but you have like these mezzo-sopranos that are like, so I have like a manly voice, and it's like I always had people make fun of it. It's like, no, you don't. Hi, I've always had like a manly voice, and like, all right, that was kind of weird, but like, it's like, if only they knew how lucky they were. But maybe it's a blessing that they don't, because honestly, to live at the cusps of the sexes, it's like, it's such a whirlwind. It's something I'm very grateful for to have been able to do, to have lived my life in both modes, so to speak. My hair, this is a good look for me, actually. I'm lucky to have experienced that, even though it is a trauma. But I suppose having the blind closed for most people is just something that helps embolden their own identities as sexual beings. It's a very deep and visceral thing to live life as a sexual being, as a man or as a woman, and to have that sort of declined, it's very disorienting. It's very disorienting. And I think that most people, hi, how are you?
Fine, how are you?
Good. Most people, they experience their own sexuality oppositionally from the other gender, the other mode of operating, so to speak. And it's hard to see past that. So whenever some sort of semblance of the other gender, which proves that there is continuity between them and they're not just separate entities that have nothing to do with each other, when something occurs, a semblance of maleness or femaleness, like, I've got woman arms, stuff like that, or, I've got a woman's ass, or I have a man's voice, or like, stuff like that, I have a man's voice, stuff like that. It's disorienting, and it creates insecurity. I know it did for me. Like, and it still does. You want to be whole when you're in the mode of sex. You want to be whole. And the sorts of discrepancies that occur just naturally because we're cut out of the same fabric as men and women, truth be told. It's disorienting for us to reckon with that fabric until we accept it, at least. My friend Lori was actually alluding to that. Alluring. She was actually alluding to that in the sense that everyone has the male spirit and female spirit within them. Maleness is about protection and order and building and fighting, and the female spirit is about nurturing and care and softness and frailty and allowing yourself to be beholden to what is around you. Might have added a bit there, but we all have that in us, and we're kind of reckoning with that as a culture now. And the non-binaries kind of make it hard for everyone, but for good reason. It's good that they do, because we are all cut from the same fabric, and non-binary people recognize it so instinctively, so implicitly, so nonchalantly. It's our predilections as the majority of us that gets in the way of them. And gets in the way of, gender benders and gender crusaders and, people who tend to become those things because they, generally speaking, just don't feel that gender identity stratification impulse as much as we do. Most of us do. Most of us want to see our sexes as unique and distinct and separate from anyone else's. It's the individual in us, the ego, which is valuable. It's valuable. That's where power comes from. But to let things melt a bit allows us to regain that through the fire of seeing us as one giant melting pot of sex. I know that in Sweden, there has been this push for equality in the past 20 years to sort of equate the sexes as far as work opportunities. And it's actually resulted in, or supposedly resulted in, I don't know if it's concurrent, but what has happened is there's been this trend of women taking the more delicate careers and men taking the more burly careers. Like, say, delicate would be like, design, and, burly would be construction work, stuff like that. It's all like, women becoming teachers and stuff, and men becoming doctors and stuff, And there is a will within us to do that just out of our own, sensual natures physically, because, women have been made into a delicate image just through their development. Men have not. Men have been blessed with strength, and we women have not been. Why wouldn't you prove your strength? What are you doing frolicking? Why would you prove your strength? You're going to ruin your divinity. Stuff like that. Gender is a whirlwind, isn't it? Should I just end it there? I don't have much to say. I thought I wouldn't have much to say to begin with, but I've already pulled this out to 8 minutes. So I guess I'll end it there. Bye-bye.